The top stories tonight in Y News. The Philippine government has procured a total of 17 million doses of the COVID-19 vaccine of United Kingdom-based AstraZeneca through tripartite agreements.
The country's Food and Drug Administration has approved the emergency use of Pfizer-BioNTech's COVID-19 vaccine in the country.
The Philippines is eyeing to extend the travel ban imposed on countries with cases of new COVID-19 variants. Respondents on the Dacera case could face perjury for retracting some of their statements, according to National Capital Region Police Office Director Brigadier General Vicente Danao Jr.
U.S. President Donald Trump becomes the first U.S. president to be impeached twice.
And online voting for the 2021 Wish Music Awards ends tomorrow. Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Thursday, January 14, 2021. I am Jorlene Delgado.
Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the country and in other parts of the world. I'm Angelo Castro III.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media accounts and our website, untvweb.com. I am William Theo.
First in the news. The Philippine government, through the business sector and the local government units, has secured 17 million doses of the Oxford AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine. The tripartite agreement is part of the government's collective effort to vaccinate 50 to 70 million Filipinos this year. Rosalie Cons explains why.
The Philippine government held a ceremonial signing together with local government units, private firms, and AstraZeneca Pharmaceuticals for the 17 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines. The AstraZeneca vaccines are expected to arrive in the country this year. Around 300 companies and 39 local government units took part in the event, and President Rodrigo Duterte lauded this partnership.
Our tripartite agreement is a true showcase of unity of purpose and principled partnership benefiting our public. This is Bayanihan at work. To everyone involved in the A Dose of Hope project, I congratulate you on this achievement. To all who help and continue to grow this tripartite partnership, maraming salamat po.
Meanwhile, presidential spokesperson Harry Roque once again reiterated that the national government is not favoring any vaccine brand. This is in relation to the procurement of vaccines from Chinese firm Sinovac Biotech being questioned for its efficacy rate.
Hindi totoo po na meron tayong pinapabura na bakuna, no? Sa katunayan po, wala talagang favoritism. Ang importante po, lahat ng bakuna na ating gagamitin, napatunayan na ng FDA na ligtas at epektibo.
The palace official added China offered a reasonable price for the COVID-19 vaccines.
I can assure you na bigyan po tayo ng presyo na uko lamang sa kanilang BFF. No? Hindi po pinakamahal ang Sinovac. Paninira lang po ng oposisyon yan. In fact, hindi rin po siya pangalawang pinakamahal na bakuna na aangkatin natin. Kung hindi po ako nagkakamali, pangatlong pinakamahal lang po siya out of 6 brands. So it is in the mid-range.
It is President Duterte himself who assured that he will be the one held accountable for the national immunization program as he defended vaccine czar Carlito Galvez.
Ako, kung ano ang piliin ni Secretary Galvez would bind me. Parang ako na rin ang bumili ng bakuna. Kung ano yung responsibility niya responsibility ko rin. Ultimately, actually, sa lahat na ito, kung may bulyaso, yung aming sa gobyernong pinili at nine-negotiate ngayon, kung may bulyaso, at the end of the day, akin talaga yung responsibilidad.
In February, the first 50,000 of the 25 million secured doses of Sinovac vaccines will arrive in the country. Aside from this, some doses of Pfizer Biotech are also expected to arrive in the country by next month, while other Western brands such as AstraZeneca will be arriving in the second semester of the year. Rosa Licoz, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Australia's chief medical officer defends securing 53 million doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine amid concerns it does not have enough efficacy to achieve herd immunity compared with the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines. Marvy Delfin will give us the details live. Yes, Marvy.
Harleen, on Tuesday, leading scientists from the Australian and New Zealand Society for Immunology called on the federal government to immediately pause the planned rollout of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine after the interim results of the Stage 3 trials found that the vaccine efficacy is at 62% for those given the recommended 2 full doses and 90% in those given a half, then a full dose. There was also indications that the AstraZeneca vaccine protects against symptomatic disease in 70% of cases. The varying rates of AstraZeneca's efficacy has created significant uncertainty over the vaccine's true effectiveness, though not a single person given the proper dosage developed severe COVID-19. With some health experts and the opposition party advocating for a review of the government's immunization plan, Australia's Chief Medical Officer Paul Kelly is concerned that the debate over the efficacy of the AstraZeneca vaccine could undermine public trust, which is key to the country's vaccination strategy.
I just want to be very clear. The AstraZeneca vaccine has several reasons why it's very important for our vaccine strategy. Firstly, it's being made here in Australia. There will be enough vaccine very soon in Australia for Australians to be able to vaccinate any Australian who wants to be vaccinated against COVID-19 this year. Second of all, it is very effective against severe illness. It will save lives. By using this vaccine, we'll be able to protect a large proportion of the population in Australia.
Australia has secured 53.8 million doses of the AstraZeneca vaccine, which is to be delivered at roughly 1 million doses a week, while only 10 million doses of the Pfizer-BioNTech, which is 95% effective, will only be given to those most at risk starting in February. Dr. Andrew Miller, president of the Australian Medical Association's Western Australia branch, said that a vaccine that did not provide herd immunity would not meet the public's expectations about returning to pre-COVID normal, especially when Australia has the resources to seek additional supplies of the best vaccines available. But the Australian government remains firm that there will be no plans for a policy U-turn. However, the co-chair of the Australian Technical Advisory Group on Immunization, Professor Alan Chang, said that it was important to remember that the AstraZeneca vaccine has not yet been registered by Australia's drugs regulator, the Therapeutic Goods Administration, and neither has the Pfizer vaccine. It is also feared that the emergence of 2 more transmissible variants of COVID-19 in Britain and South Africa could raise the critical vaccination level beyond what the AstraZeneca vaccine could achieve. Harleen?
All right, thank you, Marvy, for that report live from Australia.
Meanwhile, the Philippine Food and Drug Administration, or FDA, has issued an emergency use authorization, or EAU, for Pfizer and BioNTech's COVID-19 vaccine, clearing the way for its use in a country hardest hit by the pandemic in Southeast Asia. Aiko Miguel will tell us why.
Food and Drug Administration Director General Eric Domingo says the emergency use authorization of Pfizer-BioNTech is effective immediately as it was granted today.
After a thorough review of the currently available data by medical and regulatory experts, the FDA today is granting an emergency use authorization to Pfizer BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine. It is decided that all conditions for an EUA are present and that the benefit of using the vaccine outweighs the known and potential risks.
With the EUA, Pfizer-BioNTech can now legally distribute or roll out their vaccines, but the country will await how many priority patients will be supplied first in the Philippines. Based on the vaccine's portfolio, the vaccine should only be inoculated to 16-year-olds and above. All those eligible to be vaccinated should sign a consent form. FDA's recommendation that Pfizer-BioNTech's vaccine should be administered in hospital facilities. FDA and Pfizer will monitor its distribution and the possible adverse effects of the vaccine.
As required, no? Kasama na doon sa binasa natin kanina ang requirement. Kasi nga siya talaga ay, yung isang nakita nila is that they get about for every million, there might be 11 who have some severe allergic reaction. No? So, mas safe talaga ito kung gagawin sa isang facility na merong capability to monitor, detect, and manage this possible allergic reaction.
Storage facility for Pfizer vaccine should be well prepared for they require extremely low temperatures.
All of our experts are concerned dito sa Pfizer vaccine is the cold chain. -70 to -80. So probably talagang magagamit ito sa hospital where they have the facility for it and the ability to store it properly and handle it properly.
FDA also says it is possible that Pfizer will first have to supply in the country than Sinovac. For Sinovac is still completing the requirements needed for the EUA application submitted to the FDA. It's possible that on February 20, Sinovac's EUA be approved.
Best case, posible naman, no? Pero syempre hindi ko masabi dahil hindi natin alam kung gaano sila kabilis mag-respond.
Meanwhile, AstraZeneca and Gamaleya's EUA are possible to be approved too this month. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Philippine government is set to conduct a simulation for the arrival of the first batch of COVID-19 vaccines in the Philippines. The private sector will also help in the delivery of the vaccines to the country. Harleen Delgado explains why.
In a bid to ensure the proper delivery and handling of the COVID-19 vaccine to the Philippines, the government will be conducting a national rehearsal for the arrival of the vaccines. Vaccine Czar Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr. said in a media briefing yesterday that a simulation will be done next week for the arrival of the first batch of COVID-19 vaccines. He adds they will also visit all key cities to ensure the preparedness of local government units for the vaccination program.
Meron po kaming time in motion at saka tinatawag na walkthrough na gagawin po namin. Bibisitahin po namin ng airport at titingnan po namin kung just in case assimilate po namin yung pagdating ng unang vaccine. Then from there, pupunta po tayo sa mga warehouse, sa cold chain at i-inspect po natin ang readiness ng ating RITM.
The vaccine czar vowed that the country will be ready by the end of the month to receive the vaccines. Meanwhile, Philippine Ambassador to the United States, Jose Romualdez, announced that the private sector will help in delivering the Moderna vaccines to the Philippines. The embassy said that the International Container Terminal Service Incorporated, headed by Port Operations tycoon Enrique Razon, has pledged its support for the shipping and distribution of the said vaccine from Spain to the Philippines at no cost to the government. The Philippine Coast Guard, for its part, says they have yet to talk about the distribution. PCG spokesperson Commodore Armando Balilo said their ships also have no cold storage facility. Despite this, the PCG is willing to assist should the government need its help. Harleen Delgado, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Philippine government advised foreign travelers to postpone their plans to go to the Philippines this month amid the possibility of extending the travel ban imposed on countries with cases of the new COVID-19 variant. Rosalie Cos reports.
President Rodrigo Duterte may include foreign travelers from the United Arab Emirates who will be temporarily prohibited in entering the country. This is a day after a Filipino from the Middle East country became the Philippines' first case of the new COVID-19 variant. The government may also extend the imposition of travel restrictions set to expire tomorrow.
Ang aking payo po, doon sa mga nagpaplanong magbiyahe sa mga bansang covered ng travel restriction, yung mga dayuhan, ay huwag nyo na pong ituloy dahil yung naunang travel restrictions na inimpose po ng Presidente ay subject po to extension yan upon approval of the IATF at number 1 in the agenda po yan. So wag na kayong bumili ng ticket kung manggagaling kayo dyan sa mga lugar na yan at hindi kayo Pilipino at darating kayo on or about the 15th of January.
Meanwhile, the government ensures enough quarantine facilities for arriving Filipinos coming from countries with imposed travel restrictions.
Siyempre po, paghahandaan natin yung 14-day quarantine ng mga Pilipino na uuwi from UAE.
The president praised the UK coronavirus variant will not be more harmful.
May bagong monster na naman. And I pray to God really na sana na hindi ito more dangerous, more toxic than the original COVID. Yung ginagawa ng bakuna ngayon, bakuna laban dyan.
Rosa Licoz, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Department of Health recommends to include the United Arab Emirates in the list of 33 countries and special administrative region with known cases of new COVID-19 variants. This as the Philippines also reports its first case of the UK variant of the coronavirus that has caused the present pandemic. Aiko Miguel reports why.
The first confirmed case of UK variant in the Philippines is a 29-year-old male who arrived in the Philippines from Dubai last January 7. Experts are yet to identify the origin of the UK variant or where the patient got infected by it.
Marami pong factors that we need to consider, like the number of days from the time that they left the Philippines until they reached Dubai. Ano ba yung mga naging activities in Dubai where we were provided with this information by the individual himself who tested positive for this variant. So pinag-aaralan pa yan.
Currently, what is clear now, according to the DOH, the patient and his partner tested negative when they left the country last December 27 and arrived in Dubai.
On December 25, the couple had their RT-PCR test done here in the country and it yielded negative results. So they went to Dubai and upon entry in Dubai, they were swabbed again and the results were also negative.
Based on the DOH report, they arrived in the country last January 7 and have not manifested symptoms of the disease. Meanwhile, the DOH already submitted to the Office of the President their recommendation to include the United Arab Emirates in the country's travel ban list. This is part of the strengthening of the border control to prevent the spread of any new COVID-19 variant in the Philippines.
We will be recommending to the Office of the President the inclusion. Isasama na po natin sa talaan ng may detected UK variant ang UAE. At antayin po natin, wala naman kaming duda na ito ay aprubahan ng Office of the President.
We are taking a proactive stance. Yun po ang rekomendasyon ng ating mga eksperto para lang we can buy time. Ito pong sinasabi natin so that we can analyze the case well. We can determine if there are still other individuals who are affected by this variant. And also we can further prepare our system para po kung sakali na may makita pa tayong iba or di kaya ay magtataas ang mga kaso, tayo po ay magiging ready.
The DOH surveillance teams have already traced 58% of the patient's close contacts. Some are still being traced and located, for some of them gave wrong contact information, rejecting calls and are out of reach. The patient is currently being treated because of pneumonia in an isolation facility.
Isolate na po ngayon yung mga birth na sumundo sa kanya, yung nag-asikaso sa kanya dun sa barangay quarantine facility. Hindi na po tayo magpapapasok dun sa Hope facility na pinaglagyan siya ngayon at yung mga umasikaso sa kanya dun sa local hospital during nagpa-x-ray siya.
According to Secretary Duque, the public may expect COVID-19 surge in the country. The DOH and experts are recommending ways to prevent transmission of COVID-19 and other new variants. This is to also prevent the surge of COVID-19 cases and the overwhelming of the hospital capacity in the country. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Despite recording the first confirmed case of COVID-19 UK variant in the Philippines, the Quezon City local government has no plans as of now to place Barangay Kamuning under lockdown. John Lano tells us why live.
Diego, the Quezon City local government has clarified that the 29-year-old patient who were tested positive of UK COVID-19 variant did not have any direct contact within the residents in Barangay Kamuning. And this is the reason why Diego, the QC local government, has no any plan as of now to place Barangay Kamuning under lockdown. Mayor Joy Belmonte reiterates that the said patient only happens to be a resident in Barangay Kamuning, but he was actually not there since he arrived in the country last January 7, as he was in a quarantine hotel and was directly transferred in one of QC's isolation facility for his treatment. QC Health Department also said that if there is an effective contact tracing, there is no reason for them to place a certain barangay under a lockdown. Let us hear from Quezon City Mayor Joy Belmonte and Dr. Rolly Cruz, the head of QC Epidemiology and Surveillance Unit.
It is very unlikely that nakahawa siya sa kanyang mga kapitbahay, etc. Wala pa ring batayan para mag-lockdown doon. Bukod dyan, nung tinignan ko yung datos ng Barangay Kamuning, nakita ko that Kamuning is in fact one of the barangays in our city with the lowest number of COVID positive cases. And we have not observed any clustering yet there or any community transmission.
Kung nagagawa na maganda yung contact tracing, kahit multiple household ang meron doon, ay hindi natin siya kailangan i-lockdown.
Meanwhile, Diego, Mayor Belmonte also warns those who will discriminate the residents of Barangay Kamuning because of this confirmed case of COVID-19 UK variant. Barangay Kamuning has reported that there were several incidents wherein some of their residents were barred to go to their work due to fear that they might be carriers of the COVID-19 variant. And this is why they are disappointed that the information of its residents was disclosed with the public.
Yun po yung sa akin na sana hindi na lang po dinisclose. May mga businesses po tayo na katulad ng palengke na naapektuhan na, tapos meron po tayong mga kabarangay na hindi na pinapapasok dun sa kanilang work.
Wala naman dapat kailangan ikabahala. At gusto ko rin po siguro ipaalam din sa ating pong mga employers, no, yung mga iba't ibang opisina, na unawaan ko po kung kayo po ay nangangamba. Pero dito sa Lungsod Quezon, meron po tayong tinatawag na Anti-Discrimination Ordinance. At isa po tayo sa lungsod na nagpasa nito sapagkat alam natin na because of ignorance, sometimes we do things that are unfair and unjust to our fellow men. And this is something we are ready to pursue kung patuloy pa rin dinidiscriminate ang mga mamamayan ng Barangay Kamuning nang dahil sa kasong ito.
Meanwhile, QCLGU has reported that they were also looking into other 10 passengers who are with the same flight of the said patient, who also happens to be residents of Quezon City. Aside from the said patient and his partner, as of now, Diego, the QCLGU are now conducting strict isolation, contact tracing, and monitoring of their families to assure that they will contain the transmission of the new COVID-19 variant. Mayor Belmonte also assures that hospitals in Quezon City are prepared to accommodate patients if there might be slight increase in the number of COVID-19 cases in the city because of this development. Diego?
Yes, thank you. Joan Nano reporting live on the first case of the UK COVID-19 variant in the Philippines.
The National Bureau of Investigation has interviewed 12 men in room 2207 in the City Garden Grand Hotel concerning the death of flight attendant Christine Dacera. Dante Amento will give us the details live. Dante, good evening. Go ahead.
William, good evening. The 12 occupants in room 2207 in City Garden Grand Hotel in Makati City went here at the National Bureau of Investigation or NBI today. They have submitted themselves for thorough and question and answer investigation by the NBI experts. Here is Attorney Ferdinand Lavin, the NBI spokesperson.
They opted that they will come again all together, sama-sama sila with counsels. So every one is a witness to how the investigation proceeds as against all of them. Nakikita nung iba, paano inimbestigahan lahat sila.
It has been learned that Dacera rented with her friends room 2009 of the City Garden Grand Hotel to celebrate the new year, and that they mingled also with occupants of room 2007. Lavin said investigators have also invited the men who stayed with Dacera at room 2009 based on the counter affidavit submitted by respondent Jan Pascual de la Serna at the Makati Prosecutor's Office yesterday. He said that they went to room 2007 with victim after Ed Madrid. Also, one of the respondents invited them. NBI Deputy Director and spokesperson Ferdinand Lavin says they invited room 2007 occupants for questioning and not to submit their affidavit. And they have also been tested for drugs.
They have their lawyers. So we counsel dito. And we thank them for their cooperation. So hindi pa tapos ito. And the statements will be validated against the pieces of evidence.
William, the NBI believes that their statements or testimonies will help them a lot with their separate or parallel investigation in the Dacera case. And that's the latest live. Back to you, William.
Yes, thank you, Dante Amento, reporting live. When the Christine Dacera case first broke out, the persons involved in the case, now identified as respondents on the case, have been releasing statements, even taking to social media on their accounts of the events that led to the death of the young flight attendant. Now, two Dacera case respondents might face perjury according to the police. Leia Ilagan explains why.
National Capital Region Police Office Director, Police Brigadier General Vicente Danao Jr. said the two respondents in the Dacera case might face perjury for retracting their previous statements that a certain Mark had possibly put illegal drugs on Christine Dacera's drinks.
Well, nasa kanila yon. Pwede silang filean ng perjury kasi under oath yun na sinabi nila.
General Danao also denied the claims of the respondents that they were coerced and were physically and mentally tortured by the police.
As per information coming from the Chief of Police ng Makati, wala namang ganun nangyari. Unang-una, they've been coming out sa different social media and the same story ang sinasabi nila. And nung nagsabi naman sila during their interviews at saka yung mga information na inilabas nila sa kanilang Facebook page mismo, wala naman silang kinuwento na nabugbog sila. Bakit ngayon biglang nagkaroon ng bugbugan?
Yesterday, JP de la Serna and Romel Galido said they were being physically and mentally tortured by the Makati police. The National Capital Region Police Office also released photos showing that the respondents are not under pressure while giving their statements on the incident. Meanwhile, Danao also confirmed that they added 8 more respondents on the Dacera case.
We have filed for the amendment from 11 to 19 persons of interest na pwedeng maging respondents on the case.
The NCRPO leadership are hoping for the cooperation of other respondents, especially those who are in room 2207, to give their statements to shed light on the death of Christine Dacera. Leia Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The Department of Tourism has revoked City Garden Grand Hotel's permit to operate for accepting guests for leisure when it should be serving as a quarantine facility. Asher Kadapan Jr., details why. Live. Asher, go ahead.
Jago, a resolution was released today by the Department of Tourism imposing penalties against City Garden Grand Hotel in Makati City. Upon investigation, the hotel was found to have misrepresented itself to the public as being allowed to accommodate guests for leisure or staycation purposes despite being a quarantine facility. Under DOT Administrative Order number 2020-002-C, hotels operating as quarantine facilities are prohibited from accepting guests for leisure purposes. The DOT National Capital Region also considered other evidences besides the Christine Dacera incident on the 31st of December 2020 as advertising to accept leisure guests without indication of being a quarantine hotel. With this, the City Garden Grand Hotel is meted with penalties including 6 months suspension of DOT accreditation, a fine of 10,000 pesos, and a revocation of the certificate of authority to operate. The said hotel, however, has the right to appeal within the period prescribed by DOT rules and regulations. UNTV News tried to contact the hotel to get their side on the matter, but they confirmed that no announcement regarding the DOT resolution has been released by the management as of yet. Consequently, the Tourism Department expressed its stern warning to all accredited accommodation establishments to adhere to DOT's guidelines. The agency reiterated that only 4- and 5-star rated hotels are being accredited to accept guests for leisure and staycation purposes based on the guidelines set by the Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases, or IATF. As of yet, there are only 15 accredited hotels in Metro Manila, and these staycation hotels shall also not be used as quarantine facility. Jago, the public is encouraged to report similar incidents in violation of rules and regulation of the agency. Jago?
Thank you, Asher Kadapan Jr., reporting live.
Former officials of the House of Representatives launched a campaign that they believe will boost the performance of the chamber. Ray Pelayo explains why.
Former House Speaker and Taguig Representative Alan Peter Cayetano and his former chairpersons and deputies joined together echoing the advocacy called BTS. This means Back to Service and Bayanihan Tapang at Serbisyo. They said that they represent a big group in the House of Representatives, including those who have current positions.
And I will assure you, hindi ko lang po sasabihin ng mga pangalan nila, that we are a bigger group. We have many sympathizers, supporters that are currently part of the leadership of the House. Marami kaming kasama na committee chairman.
Pinatibay namin yung grupo namin dahil isa yung nararamdaman namin Kailangang maramdaman ng tao na ang House of Representatives, ang House of the People, ang mga representative nila, mga kinatawan nila sa Kongreso, ay kasama nila sa anumang nararamdaman nila.
The group wants to be the voice of what the nation needs at this time. Lawmakers said they are not contented with the performance of the current leadership.
Kung inuna niya ang hearing sa vaccination at sa PhilHealth, wala tayong problema, inuuna Chache. Kasi very important yung problem ng ng pandemic And that's the reason why wala kami sinasayang na oras. Pero ngayon, isang buwan kaming bakasyon at magsisimula ang Kongreso sa Lunes, wala ka na dinig na hearing.
We want to bring back the House of Representatives being the House of the People rather than the House of Politics.
On the other hand, Deputy Speaker Doy Lechon said the hearing on charter change aims to address the problems in unemployment and effects of the pandemic in the economy. He notes that the speakership of Velasco has done more in just few months. But the group of Cayetano expressed their willingness to support the current leadership. Ray Pelayo, UNTV News and Rescue, we serve the people, we give glory to God.
Senators slammed the claim of House Committee on Constitutional Amendments Chairperson Representative Alfredo Garbin Jr. that the panel has convened into a constituent assembly as it discussed proposals for amending the Constitution. Senate President Vicente Soto III says it is wrong, noting that the only way that a CONAS can be initiated is through a session in the plenary. The Congress is set to resume its session on Monday. That is why the senator Senator asks, what's with the rush? Senator Panfilo Lacson, meanwhile, reminded the congressman that the Philippine Congress has two chambers. He added that the lawmakers must be forgiven for they do not know what they are doing. And for Senate Minority Leader Franklin Drilon, such claim is totally baseless, but a dangerous precedent, and that they basically hijacked the Senate. The veteran lawmaker also explained, in order that the House and the Senate could propose amendments to the Constitution, Congress must convert itself through a resolution into a constituent assembly with the two houses voting separately.
For those watching us on YouTube, please click the subscribe button you see on the right side of your screen and ring the bell for notification. You may also follow us on Facebook.
The Philippines on Thursday logged 1,912 new coronavirus infections, with the overall count rising to 494,605. The Department of Health said of the total infected, active cases are at 25,614. It listed the top contributing areas as Davao City with 136 more patients, Quezon City with 107, Agusan del Sur with 61, Dagupan City with 57, and Cavite with 54. 40 more people also died due to the disease, bringing total fatalities to 9,739. The DOH said that of this number, 14 were earlier tagged as recoveries and were corrected as deaths. Meanwhile, the nationwide recovery count is now at 459,252, with another 746 reported survivors. 7 testing laboratories failed to submit data on time and were not yet included in the latest figures, the department said.
And for the news abroad, here's Maria Latoza reporting live from Perth, Australia.
Good evening, William. President Donald Trump has been impeached twice by the U.S. House of Representatives. This time, the chief executive was charged for inciting U.S. Capitol riot. Judith Anofuente reports.
With 232 to 197 House votes on Wednesday, President Donald Trump has been impeached for incitement of insurrection at last week's Capitol riot. 10 Republicans supported the move of the U.S. House Democrats. Trump became the first president in U.S. history to be impeached twice. The House passed a formal charge against Trump, focusing on an incendiary speech he delivered to thousands of his supporters before the violent rampage at the Capitol, which disrupted the formal certification of President-elect Joe Biden's victory.
That the President of the United States incited this insurrection, this armed rebellion against our common country. He must go. He is a clear and present danger to the nation that we all love.
In a video statement released after the vote in Congress, Trump did not address about the impeachment vote, but he condemned the violence in the Capitol and called on his followers to remain peaceful.
Mob violence goes against everything I believe in and everything our movement stands for. No true supporter of mine could ever endorse political violence. No true supporter of mine could ever disrespect law enforcement or our great American flag. No true supporter of mine could ever threaten or harass their fellow Americans.
Now Republican Trump will face a trial in the Senate, and if convicted, he could face being barred from ever holding office again. However, he will not have to leave the White House before his term ends next week because the Senate will not reconvene in time. On January 20, Trump will formally leave office and Biden will take oath as the new U.S. president. Senate Republican Majority Leader Mitch McConnell rejected the calls of the Democrats for a swift impeachment trial and said there is no chance that a fair or serious trial could conclude before January 20. Even if Trump has left the White House, the Senate can still proceed with an impeachment trial, and a post-presidency conviction could be followed by a vote on a measure that will bar Trump from running again for president. Judith Anofuente, UNTV News and Rescue, USA. We serve the people, We give glory to God.
Meanwhile, companies Airbnb and Google have announced temporary policies to restrain possible attacks on the upcoming U.S. Inauguration Day. Ia De Vera will tell us why.
After the unprecedented event in U.S. Capitol last week, Airbnb and Alphabet Incorporated's Google imposed policies to curb new attacks on the inauguration day of President-elect Joe Biden. The leading home-sharing platform Airbnb released a statement on their website stating that all reservations made in Washington, D.C. metro area during the inauguration week will be canceled in response to local authorities asking people not to travel to the said city. Also, the company will prevent any future bookings in Washington, D.C. area by blocking such reservations. Airbnb announced that canceled reservations will be refunded in full amount by the guests, while hosts can reimburse the expected earnings from the canceled reservations. The company also mentioned that they have investigated whether people participated in the Capitol attack used their services. Those identified individuals are now banned from using Airbnb's platform. Google, on the other hand, will temporarily stop political ads on all its platforms starting January 14 and until at least the day after the presidential inauguration. The company has explained their decisions to advertisers by sending a letter, saying that there are no exceptions for news and merchandise. Google also mentioned in their letter that any ads referencing to impeachment, the inauguration, or protests at the U.S. Capitol will also be halted. Given last week's event in U.S. Capitol, advertisers are being reminded by Google's policy against ads promoting hate or incite violence. Ia De Vera, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The mafia trial targeting the 'Ndrangheta clan based in Calabria, thought to be by investigators as the most powerful mafia group in Italy, involves more than 300 alleged members accused of extortion, drug trafficking, and theft, while another 92 suspects opted for a fast-track trial in the same case. The trial, however, is already facing delays as 3 judges assigned to the case sought recusal during yesterday's initial hearing, saying they had been involved in earlier aspects of the investigation. Many of the accused include lawyers, accountants, business people, local politicians, and policemen who, accordingly to the chief prosecutor Nicola Gratteri, willingly aided the 'Ndrangheta in building its empire. Prosecutor Gratteri, who has spent more than 30 years fighting the mob, said there has been a surge in law calling on 913 witnesses and a drawing on 24,000 hours of intercepted conversations to support the charges. The trial is expected to take at least a year to complete, with the court due to sit 6 days a week. A coronavirus vaccine developed by China's Sinovac biotech will have to go through regulatory scrutiny and authorization by Singapore's Health Sciences Authority before it can be rolled out to the public. Roy Checa will tell us why live. Yes, Roy, good evening.
Singapore is currently taking its cautionary step to authorize CoronaVac, a COVID-19 vaccine developed by Sinovac, a Beijing-based biopharmaceutical company. This vaccine will be scrutinized by Singapore's Health Sciences Authority, or HSA, before it can be rolled out to the public, said Health Minister Gan Kim Yong yesterday, January 13. The Sinovac vaccine has yet to be approved, following the Brazilian trial stating that Sinovac was only 50.4% effective, barely meeting the threshold for its approval. Singapore plans to go through the data when it comes, rather than depending on the reported numbers, said Mr. Gan. With the different vaccines being assessed by the HSA, including the Moderna vaccine and the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine, Singapore still urges its residents to come forward and get vaccinated instead of waiting for a specific brand to be authorized, something which may or may not materialize, explained by Education Minister Lawrence Wong yesterday, January 13. Back to you, Mariel.
All right, thank you, Roy Checa, live from Singapore. The new coronavirus variant dominating the citizens of Britain has now led UK's Prime Minister to launch a 24/7 vaccination program. Meanwhile, Turkey's Prime Minister launches the country's first vaccination program with his very own vaccination. Early Briones will tell us the details live. Yes, Early, please go ahead.
Good evening, Marielle. United Kingdom Prime Minister Boris Johnson has now announced a 24/7 COVID vaccination program for Britain to commence as soon as possible. With the new, more contagious variant of the coronavirus sweeping across the nation and crippling the healthcare system down to its breaking point, Johnson aims to expedite vaccinations of their most vulnerable individuals and prevent further possible hospital admissions. The Prime Minister praised the hundreds of doctors' offices and community pharmacies, plus 50 pop-up vaccination sites at convention or sports centers on top of 223 hospitals currently involved in the regular vaccination drive. Johnson states that he plans to extend the hours of these sites as part of the 24/7 project. Nadeem Zahawi, the Prime Minister's vaccines minister, states that there are millions of supplies to come in the next months. However, the Prime Minister disclosed that there are not enough doses to support the 24/7 program itself in order to complete the goal of vaccinating 15 million individuals who are high risk by the middle of February. Currently, the country has approved the use of the Pfizer, BioNTech, and Oxford AstraZeneca vaccines. The Moderna vaccine has now also been approved, but is not expected to be delivered until spring. In another light, Turkey finally gave the green light to use China's Sinovac vaccine for the emergency rollout of their vaccination program. The first shipment of the Sinovac vaccine arrived late last month with an initial of 3 million doses out of the scheduled 50 million doses to be shipped. The program will commence on Thursday, and as expected, healthcare workers and vulnerable individuals will be prioritized. All citizens, nevertheless, are encouraged to step in and participate in their own vaccinations. Turkey's Health Minister Fahrettin Koca televised his vaccination live to promote the program. Although current studies show uncertainty in the efficacy of the Sinovac vaccine, Koca expressed his high hopes in beating the pandemic with the vaccine and his fellow citizens. Marielle?
Thank you, Early Briones, live from Australia. And those are the reasons behind the news in other parts of the globe. Back to you, William.
Thank you, Maria Latosa, live from Perth, Australia.
President Rodrigo Duterte said that his daughter Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte Carpio is not running for president. In a speech at the inauguration of the Metro Manila Skyway Stage 3, the president reiterated that he had cautioned his daughter against seeking the presidency. The presidency is not a woman's job, President Duterte added. A recent Pulse Asia survey showed the Davao City Mayor as the lead contender for the presidential race in the 2022 national elections. Online voting for the 2021 Wish Awards will end tomorrow. Meanwhile, wishers are in for a treat in this year's award show. Mirasola Bogadil will tell us why.
Wishers only have a few hours to vote for their favorite music acts nominated at the 2021 Wish Music Awards. Online polls will close at 12 noon tomorrow, January 15th. According to the weekly tally released by Wish 1075 last Friday, a few artists are neck and neck at some categories, while others are dominating the areas they are nominated for. Wish 1075 announced that it will give a special recognition to the artist that will gain the most votes. For artists with multiple nominations in different categories, the nomination with the most number of votes will be considered. Meanwhile, wishers are also in for a treat because they have a chance to win 50,000 pesos and other exciting prizes. Just vote via the Wish Music Awards website. Comment a screenshot as proof of voting and tag 3 of your friends. Winners will be chosen via an electronic raffle and will be announced during the event. The 2021 Wish Music Awards will be held this Sunday, January 17, 2021 at the Araneta Coliseum and will be streamed live on the Wish 1075's YouTube channel. Mirasol Abogadil, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
And those are the reasons behind the news, January 14, 2021. I am Harleen Delgado.
Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I'm Angelo Castro III.
Because we need to know, we will always ask why. I am William Theo. We serve the people. We give glory to God.